TV7 Israel News is made possible thanks to your generous donation. Shalom ve'erev tov, good evening. Welcome to our daily TV7 Israel News Bulletin broadcast from Jerusalem. The United States views the Islamic Republic of Iran at its weakest point since the 1979 Islamic Revolution, noting that its ability to rebound from public dissent is non-existent. Iran's top national security advisor threatens to strike Tel Aviv if the United States launches an attack on the Islamic Republic. And the European Union designates Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guards Corps as a terrorist organization. The Islamic Republic of Iran has reached its weakest point since forcibly taking over the country in 1979, as the West at large and the United States in particular have seemingly had enough. Addressing a Senate Foreign Relations Committee hearing related to U.S. policy vis-a-vis Venezuela, U.S. Secretary of State and National Security Advisor Marco Rubio responded to questions by senators who were keen on hearing about the Trump administration's evaluation of the mass murder by the Ayatollah regime of Iranian civilians and whether the Islamic Republic was able to subdue public dissent triggered by an economic freefall.
Well, in the thousands for certain. And look, I think regimes, including that one in Iran, have learned that when you start shooting people in the head with snipers, it's effective. I mean, it works, and they've done it, and it's horrifying. And that's what we've seen. That regime is probably weaker than it has ever been. And the core problem they face, unlike the protests you saw in the past on some other topics, is that they don't have a way to address the core complaints of the protesters, which is that their economy's in collapse. And the reason why there's economies in collapse is because they spend all their money and all their resources building weapons and sponsoring terrorist groups around the world instead of reinvesting it back into their society. And as a result, have taken on massive global sanctions, which has isolated their economy and their country. And so that's what the Iranian people are demanding, is that they stop doing that and start caring about them and get these sanctions off them. And this regime is unwilling to do it. So the core challenge is the protests may have ebbed, but they will spark up again in the future because this regime, unless they are willing to change and or leave, have no way of addressing the legitimate and consistent complaints of the people of Iran who deserve better.
Washington's top diplomat further stressed that the current military posture in the Middle East, which continues to grow by the day with additional strategic assets, aims to grant President Donald Trump to confront thousands of ballistic missiles, which the Islamic Revolutionary Guards Corps have amassed over the years.
But that's, I think, what you're seeing now, is the ability to posture assets in the region to defend against what could be an Iranian threat against our personnel. They certainly have the capability to do it because they've amassed thousands and thousands of ballistic missiles that they've built. Despite the fact that their economy's collapsing, they keep spending money on that.
With additional strategic assets, primarily advanced aircraft, flooding the region, the Ayatollah regime is desperately trying to deter the United States from acting by means of voicing threatening rhetoric toward Washington's regional allies. The latest was sounded by Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei's top security advisor, Ali Shamkhani, who stated that any military action by the United States from any origin and at any level will be considered the start of war, and its response will be immediate, unprecedented, targeting the heart of Tel Aviv and all those supporting the aggressor, as he put it. In response to this threat leveled at Israel, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, during the funeral of Rani Gvili, the last Israeli hostage who was retrieved from the Gaza Strip earlier this week, voiced Israel's determined resolve to confront those who seek to annihilate the state of Israel.
בשתי היממות האחרונות, כשרני כבר פה,
In the last 48 hours, with Rand finally here, the yellow pins identified with the hostages have been removed from our lapels. We removed the pins just as we removed, through the heroism of our fighters and the resilience of our people, the stranglehold that the axis of evil spread around us. We dealt crushing blows to the Iranian axis. We did so also in the name and for the sake of our loved ones, the murdered, the fallen, the heroes, those in uniform and those not in uniform. The generation of heroes, the generation of victory of which Ran Gvili is a prominent representative, has been revealed in all its glory. Let those who seek our lives know, whoever raises a hand against Israel will pay an unbearable price. To all those who think they can break us, I say, come to Meitar. To all those who think they will defeat us, listen to Tali Gvili, you will not defeat us. We will defeat and crush you.
Meanwhile, Russia is working extensively to dissuade the United States and its allies from ending the Ayatollah regime, claiming that an attack would result in chaos across the Middle East.
We continue to call on all parties to show restraint and refrain from any use of force to resolve these issues. Clearly, the potential for negotiations has not yet been exhausted. Any use of force can only create chaos in the region, and lead to very dangerous consequences.
While the Kremlin is working extensively to rescue its last standing ally in the Middle East, the Russian Minister of Defense has openly acknowledged Moscow's deepening collaboration with Beijing on their respective military posture vis-à-vis the West.
Since our last meeting in June last year in Qingdao, many events have taken place that have had a significant impact on the international situation. The cases of Venezuela and Iran require our agencies to constantly analyze security developments and take corresponding action. Today, amid rapid changes in the global military and political environment, regular exchanges in military cooperation are essential.
Meanwhile, in Brussels, foreign ministers of EU member states have adopted new sanctions on Iran, targeting individuals and entities involved in the Ayatollah regime's violent crackdown on protesters and in the Islamic Republic's support to Russia in its war of aggression against Ukraine. Moreover, after years in which the European Union's Commission deliberately sought to evade designating the Islamic Revolutionary Guards Corps on the bloc's list of terrorist organizations, the latest events in Iran have altered the position of a number of countries who were reluctant to do so up until today, to include France, Spain, and Ireland, among others.
La France a annoncé hier qu'elle soutiendra.
France announced yesterday that it will support the inclusion of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps on the European Union's list of terrorist organizations, because there can be no impunity for the crimes committed. That is why we will today impose European sanctions against those responsible for this repression: government officials, prosecutors, police unit chiefs, members of the Revolutionary Guard Corps, and those responsible for blocking the internet. More than 20 individuals and entities will have their assets frozen and will be banned from entering European territory.
Se verront interdits l'accès au territoire européen.
The designation of the RGC is essentially a win for Germany, which has pushed for the move in recent years.
Die Bundesregierung hat sich sehr stark dafür eingesetzt, dass es eine Listung der
The federal government has strongly advocated for the Revolutionary Guard Corps to be listed under the terrorism sanctions regulations. I am very confident that we will reach a joint conclusion on this matter today. This is urgently needed because the way in which people have been beaten, tortured, thrown into prison, and even shot or hanged is so dramatic, not only in terms of numbers but also in terms of the way in which this unjust regime has acted, that there must be a clear response from the European Union as a community of values. And that is why I am very pleased that many member states have now signaled that this listing will finally happen. This is a success for the people of Iran. It is a success for humanity, and it is also a success for the EU as a community of values, which is demonstrating here that human rights are universal and that we defend them everywhere.
Dass Menschenrechte universell sind und dass wir sie überall verteidigen.
Meanwhile, the European Union's High Representative, Kaja Kallas, whose institution long stood in the way of the RGC's overdue designation, responded to a question on whether the blacklisting of the Islamic Revolutionary Guards Corps would sever diplomatic relations between the European Union and Iran.
These risks have been calculated, so the diplomatic part is out of this Revolutionary Guard. I mean, also the interactions with the foreign minister are not under this. So the estimate is that still the diplomatic channels will remain open even after the listing of the Revolutionary Guard.
Thankfully, during the foreign ministerial, the European Union's top diplomats unanimously agreed to designate the RGC a terrorist organization, a significant blow to the Ayatollah regime in Tehran, which has pledged to retaliate. Thank you for watching TV7 Israel News. I would like to encourage you to keep praying for the Iranian people. Pray also for the peace of Jerusalem and the salvation of Israel. I'm Jonathan Hassan, wishing you an Erev Tov v'Mevorach, and God willing, until our next broadcast, Shalom from Jerusalem.